guys, thanks for watching the Anywhere podcast. My guest today is one of the fittest athletes in the world, Sam Dancer. A couple things about Sam here. I played fullback at Western Illinois University. Then he's been with CrossFit since 2014, CrossFit Conjugate. He's got the record for the 655-pound deadlift he set in 2014. Then also he won that deadlift ladder in 2016. Sam, nice to have you on the show here.
Pleasure, man.
All right.
Absolute pleasure.
Well, like I said, I was kind of reaching out to a lot of people. I'm on episode 3 here of my podcast, and
Cool.
big fan of you, big fan of CrossFit the sport. And I was kind of trying to find some guests on here, and I was kind of looking at your profile because I've been following you for a couple of years on Instagram. And I go, Sam wouldn't reply back. But my fiance, she said, why not? Worst he can say is no.
She's right. Closed mouths don't eat.
Exactly. So Sam, obviously you've done a whole lot in CrossFit, but playing football, how did you transition from football and then after that career to CrossFit?
Well, football wasn't a really glamorous career for me, at least in college.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of injuries and just really struggled throughout my collegiate career. And so after that, I was just really kind of focused on trying to regain my health and get my body back, which honestly kind of seemed impossible at the time. I was really banged up, and I'd really allowed myself to kind of get into some bad habits with just using painkillers to cover symptoms, using Adderall to get me up, using Ambien to get me down. So I just kind of started my health and wellness journey post college, and really just focused on my nutrition and kind of working myself towards getting off a lot of these pharmaceuticals. And I had a cousin named Taylor Drusher, who's a Marine, and she'd always kind of been encouraging me to do CrossFit, telling me I'd do really well in it. But for the longest time, I just kept telling her, I'm like, hey, I'm a football player, and I'm as fit as I can be. And my mindset at the time was that was wellness. That was fitness to me, was my capacities as a football player. And so it kind of took a little bit of a time. Well, I guess it took me not having my identity through football to start reshaping and figuring out who I am without the thing that I've identified with for 12 plus years maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of just being at almost like a rock bottom place where I just like, man, I gotta try something. I gotta do something to get out of where I'm at right now. And so through her encouragement and her persistence, encouraging me to try it and telling me that she thinks I'd be really good at it, and that meant a lot coming from her, because she was at the time one of the better female athletes in CrossFit. This is back in like 2011 or 12. And so I started just like watching videos and stuff, and I was like, damn, I can do that. Like I'm just as good, just as strong, just as conditioned as these guys, but I was lacking just overall wellness, and maybe some mobility and like range of motion stuff. So I just spent like the next 3 months just hammering up mobility and doing a lot of therapeutic exercise to get my body dialed in, and working on my nutrition. I suffered a lot from asthma.
Okay.
So I wanted to get that kind of under control. And so that's kind of what that transition looked like, and where it was fostered, and how it all came to be. And I'm still on that journey today, still working on those things, and I'm sure it'll be a lifelong trial.
So did you major in like an exercise science field or something like that? Or did you just kind of
I didn't.
research? Okay.
I was an art major,
Hey, me
art
too.
and really
Yeah.
nice art and engineering. I don't know why I did the was in the engineering department. I was probably a little torn. Those are two really well, maybe not totally opposing on the spectrum of majors that you could have. Um, but there was a part of me that wanted to do what I loved, and then there was a part of me that thought I needed to do what I should do to become a successful person and
Mhm.
be able to, make money and provide for a family and, live the dream, right? Go to
Yeah.
college, graduate, get a job, find a woman, get married, have a baby, like, all the standard narrative of things that you're supposed to do. Um, Luckily, um, I kind of I tried to pursue some of that and working in the real world. Um, it took only about maybe 3 months for me to realize that it wasn't for me, and I was in the wrong place. And I was fortunate enough to have a manager who kind of got me out. Um, Initially, he was like, we gotta, you don't belong here. He said.
Mhm.
And I was like,
Mhm.
damn, like I'm the hardest worker here. Like, what do you mean I don't belong here? And he's like, you should be doing something else, something better. He's like, this isn't for you. But I agreed.
Yeah.
I definitely agreed that I didn't belong there. But again, I thought that's what you're supposed to do.
Mhm.
And he helped me kind of uh, he just asked some questions and got me thinking about what it was that I wanted to do for the next segment of my life. And um, he knew I loved to exercise. He knew I loved eating good, and he knew I loved teaching people how to eat good and feel good and be fit. And so he kind of like dug that out a little bit in me by asking all these questions, and he helped me kind of write a business plan for opening a gym.
Wow.
Um, and then I learned about kind of the ease at which it is to open up a CrossFit affiliate. And so that's like where my actual like when I opened our affiliate and when I started CrossFit were all like kind of like in the same time frame. So
Okay.
I went all in really
Wow.
quickly.
Was that scary, or did you know that kind of that was the direction that you really wanted to go?
No, I didn't care. I really didn't.
Okay.
I was so miserable at the job that I was doing that I didn't care if I was broke. I didn't care if I failed at it. I needed to do what I wanted to do. And
Mhm.
like I said, I loved training and I loved teaching and I love competing. So it made sense. And it was a grind for a very long time. And
Mhm.
but it's paid off. It's absolutely paid off. I'm still doing what I'm passionate about, and I'm able to support our family and still live my dream to this day.
Yeah. Now, did you meet your wife, in college or after you opened the affiliate?
Yeah, she was. So it was right as I was opening the affiliate. She was home in between her. She is a professional soccer player in Sweden, and
Oh.
she rarely came home. And I didn't know her. I've heard of her name before, just because she's one of the few people to come out of Quincy, Illinois, and go into professional sports.
Mhm.
So she's kind of like a legend around here. But I'd never met her, never seen her, knew very little about her except for just kind of what you hear from people.
Mhm.
Um, and I always just kind of the the things that I heard about her weren't very pleasant. It was all a lot of stuff based off of her style of play on the soccer field. So she was a very aggressive kind of bully on the soccer field.
Yeah.
She played like an American football player, and so and I went to the private school. She went to the public school, and she was always kicking everyone's ass, even as like a freshman in high school. So like just people didn't like her because she was good,
Mm.
and that's all I'd ever really heard about her. But I knew she was a savage soccer player, and she came home, and a mutual friend of ours had kind of got us connected. she was looking for just somewhere to train while she was home, and I was doing these free park workouts twice a day, and a very successful program for me. It's kind of what got our gym off the ground. Had over 100 people come through this program
Wow.
regularly, and so when I opened my gym, I had like 75 plus people on the day that I opened signed up, and I told her, I was like, these park workouts, they're cool and they're fun, and I'm sure you'd have a great time, but if you're looking to train the way that I would anticipate a professional soccer player should be training, you're not going to get much out of this. And if you're interested, I'd be more than happy to coach you, to train you. And I was like, it'd be a good opportunity for both of us. I'm trying to kind of build my resume, if you will. With At the time, I wanted to coach professional athletes. I wanted to coach athletes in general. Well, not that people here like at the CrossFit gym aren't athletes. They're all athletes. But yeah, professional athletes are people who wanted to be professional and people who wanted to go to the next level. And I thought that's what what I would be doing, and couldn't be further from the truth. 99% of the people I train probably at my gym that really have no athletic background at all. So, and aren't really interested in being competitive athletes. So they just want to be wellness athletes, if you will. And so we started doing just one-on-one sessions, and I just started teaching her about nutrition and mobility and just how to kind of take care of her body as I had recognized that she was kind of broken down. She'd had a handful of knee surgeries, and she had a lot of imbalances and stuff. And we kept it very, very professional. And there's no like funny business or anything. But the day that I met her, I knew I was going to marry her, and I think I told her maybe that the next day.
Didn't scare her off.
It was she was a little taken back by it, but obviously not too much. So it took her maybe a couple weeks to kind of fall in line, if you will, and see it the way I kind of saw it. And yeah, we built a relationship over the phone because she went back to Sweden, and the rest is history, man.
Wow. So I just want to touch base on kind of something you said when you thought originally that you wanted to train professional athletes, and now you kind of fallen in love with training more general population. Was there a moment that made you realize that that's actually what you wanted to do, or was it kind of a slower process?
Well, it was really quickly. I realized there's not a lot of athletes.
Gotcha.
Or, again, I like I said, everyone here is an athlete, and we train like athletes, and we treat ourselves like athletes. But there's maybe a 0.5% of the population that is kind of in that category of wanting to pursue higher level sports. And so I realized that just the numbers weren't there.
Okay, gotcha.
And that I wasn't going to be able to make a business out of training quote unquote professional athletes, because there really aren't that many of them.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense too, right? You got to train for your clients. I got to keep the lights on and all that.
Yeah, but I love it now. Like, honestly, training again, athletes, professional athletes, it's kind of boring. It's they're too good. There's nothing to do as a coach, to a degree. I think that every high level athlete needs to have a coach or a mentor. Even me, I still to this day, it's important for me to hear the same cues that I'm dishing out to people. So even I like to have a coach.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's yeah. It's just kind of the way it was, and I'm happy that it went that way, because it allowed me to actually do what I love to do, which is I really like to coach. I like to find creative solutions to fitness related problems, and you don't really get to do that as much with people who are are pretty well dialed in. Like
Right.
there's not a lot of room for improvement with professional athletes,
Mm-hmm.
whereas like there is with someone who's never eaten well, never trained before, and is 56 years old. Like there's the sky's the limit with someone like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, um, Q Town Fitness, it's in Quincy, you said? Quincy, Illinois?
Yep,
Yeah.
Quincy, Illinois,
Okay. Now,
small town,
how many people we talking?
40,000, but so we're kind of like the big city in our area, but like
Mhm.
all the towns that surround um, Quincy are 600, 1,200
Okay.
people. So we're kind of it's yeah, it's a small town.
Gotcha. Now, as an affiliate owner, as a small business owner, we don't have to go too much into kind of the whole Greg Glassman, everything that went on earlier in this year, but how are you feeling as far as kind of the new leadership at CrossFit HQ?
I think it's wonderful. I'm really excited for it. It's something we've kind of I think needed. Greg has admittedly not been a fan of the CrossFit Games.
Mm-hmm.
So and again, although the CrossFit Games and the elite CrossFit athletes make up a very 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 small pool of the participants within the culture. It's and so to have our leadership not be pro CrossFit Games wasn't good for the athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the CrossFit Games is for the most part a really big part of our culture and a really important part of it. It's what um, kind of what puts us on the map.
Yeah.
There without the CrossFit Games and it being televised, very few people would know anything about CrossFit. And but the unfortunate side of that is when they see that on TV, that's what they think CrossFit is.
Right.
So as an affiliate owner, well, I'm not an affiliate owner anymore, but as a gym owner, you that's what you're up against is you have to um, help people understand that that's not what we're doing here. And I'm constantly up against it, and people are like, man, I don't want to walk on my hands and do 600-pound deadlifts. And I'm like, can you walk on your hands and do a 600-pound deadlift? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, there you go. You're not going
Right.
to have to do that then. So just kind of explaining the scalability of everything and that the CrossFit Games is a very unique experience that um, they will most likely not be participating in. And it's a really great event though for us to kind of rally around. It reminds me of like a high school playoff game or something like that. It's just like the majority of the town doesn't play football,
Mm-hmm.
but we all kind of like get around that and use that as a way to all come together. And the CrossFit Games are the same thing. It's a great way for the community to come together, and it's kind of like our Super Bowl or our
Yeah.
Olympics, and it's our a little like mini celebration, and I think it's a great pinnacle event to to just kind of to celebrate.
Yeah. And you know what? It's kind of I find interesting is that CrossFit gets a bad rep as far as injuries and things go. I work at a small like a local YMCA and have seen so many, bad technique, bad form, everything there. It's not exclusive to CrossFit. And so I'm sure that's got to be something that you just want to kind of pop somebody on the head and and let them know that there's bad form anywhere, but if you go to a good gym, they're going to train that out of you.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, even a bad gym with someone who has their level one, um, I would be much more confident with somebody going to a bad gym
Mhm.
with a coach that had an L1 than going to a Globo gym and just like
Right.
making up their own stuff. Um, so it's, I don't really understand where that all comes from. And maybe a part of me thinks that it's kind of like a bypass or like a way for people to kind of cop out or give an excuse as to why they're not participating or why they're not training a certain way. So just by saying like, no, I don't want to do that because you get injured. I get injured stepping off a curb or
Right.
stubbing your toe in your house, man. It's like injuries can happen um, anywhere, anytime,
Yeah.
and I think they're far less likely to happen in a CrossFit gym, even under poor supervision, because at the gym is where you're actually trying to be intentional with your movement,
Mhm.
versus a lot of times we're kind of unintentionally skating around life, and there, I've had anyone who's really ever been injured in our gym that is part of our gym has gotten injured outside of the gym doing
Mm.
something very, very, very silly. Um, I picking up a laundry basket weird or something like
Yeah.
that, or um, you know, just yeah, kind of yeah, just unintentionally moving.
Mhm.
And so I think that the gym kind of creates that environment where you're actually thinking about what you're doing. And when you're thinking about what you're doing and you're being intentional with what you're doing, you're far less likely to get injured. So as much as people say that, CrossFit's dangerous, it's just not true. It's
Right.
just not true. Anything can be dangerous. Anything can be dangerous. And I find that people are people who are doing CrossFit, even when they're doing some stuff they shouldn't be doing. You see it often. People they come in and they see other people maybe kipping or doing butterfly pull-ups, and they're like, oh, I want to do that. Let's get a strict pull-up first.
Right. Can you do one?
Um,
Yeah.
and, and and people just always want to bypass all the work and things that they need to do to get to where they want to be. But yeah, the whole injuries in CrossFit, it's very few and far between. I we've maybe had like 2 injuries here in 8 years.
Wow.
Very minimal injuries, very
Right.
very minimal injuries. We're talking like a a a mild tear in a labrum or something
Mm.
like that. Something that can be therapeutically remedied
Mhm.
rather quickly, and so it just it's like I said, I think it's just kind of like an excuse that people make so that they can avoid um, getting better.
Yeah. Now you've been there. You said 8 years.
Yep. Almost,
Uh,
yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Now here in Minnesota, we had a stay-at-home order that just renewed. So starting Friday, all our gyms closed back down. What's that looking like in Illinois right now?
Very similar. We're supposed to be shut down. It took me about 2 weeks after the first shutdown to realize that we shouldn't be shut down. Initially, I thought we were doing the right thing. We had this novel virus. We didn't know anything about it. And now we do know a lot about it. And it doesn't add up to me. So
Mhm.
I've been objecting the order and keeping my facilities open. We've had thousands of people check in. I don't think we've had a single person contract the virus from the gym. We have had people from the gym test positive, but I could count on one hand how many people have tested positive for COVID that belong to our gym, and zero of which who contracted it from the gym. So gyms are proving to be a very, very safe place for people to congregate, and it just we're healthier when we're here, and we learned that through the first quarantine, the mandated quarantine, where everybody had to stay home, even the healthy people. And everyone kind of declined. So I couldn't, I can't close it down. It makes no sense to me. And we're proving every day that it's a safe place, and um, it's a place where people can learn to be well. And I don't think that masks are gonna fix anything, or vaccines are really gonna fix anything. I think immune systems fix stuff, and I think being well is what is the solution to all of this. And that can sometimes be a very triggering thing to hear when you're not well.
Mhm.
Um, and when you're not well, you feel very helpless and very victimized with your uh, state of health. And so I think it's, like I said, it's very triggering for someone who isn't well to get upset about a statement like that. But again, the proof is kind of in the pudding. The data is here. The people that go to my gym don't get sick.
Mhm.
They're resilient. And um, and I know it seems like a long walk for someone who isn't well, but it's the best advice that I could give to anyone who's in fear or worried about um, what's going on in regards to their health, would be to focus on your nutrition, get some exercise, and maybe kind of restructure your belief programs so that you can run a little bit more optimally and have resiliency against uh, a bacteria or a virus, and be able to um, to fight it.
Mhm.
And so anyone who has tested positive here, they've been little to no symptoms. And so it's I'm confidently staying open, because
Mhm.
I just, to the core of me, I know it's the right thing to do. And um, yeah, I'll never, I don't think I'll ever shut this place down again, because I realized through that initial quarantine how important our community is. And you're only as strong as your community. So when you divide it up like that, and restrict our abilities to commune with one another, it puts us at a disadvantage with our health and our wellness. So, um, yeah, staying open.
Yeah. All right. Now, speaking of being well and being healthy, I know maybe was it 1 or 2 years back that you had the tibia and the fibula issues. Are you feeling at 100% right now?
Yeah, yeah, that was in 2016. I fractured my fibula, just from ignorance and just overtraining. That was my first time qualifying as an individual, and I was really, really excited about it. I was certain that I could put up like a top 10 performance. And I just overtrained and did way too much running. And yeah, just had a stress fracture in my fibula. So it didn't take long to recover from that. And I feel better than ever.
Okay, well, that's great to hear. I know with like kind of like the format for this past year and everything crazy, and they only sent the top, was it the top 5 men and women each and all that. Are you feeling like you're gonna make another run at the games next year? I know you said in another interview that you're only gonna do teams from now on.
Um, so I really enjoy the team stuff. I think I'll always try to find a way to do the team stuff.
Mm,
With our current kind of situation, just with we just had a baby.
congrats.
It's made it. Thank you. It's made it a little bit more difficult for me to mobilize and meet up with a group of people. And it's a lot of work to get a team together and to train together and to organize the travel and to organize the finances. And it's just kind of makes more sense for me right now with where I'm at to um, just do things individually. Um, so I hope to do some team stuff, but the individual is going to kind of be my focus. And I have no plans on like not competing anytime soon. So
That's pretty great to hear, especially as someone who's enjoyed watching you. At the first couple of careers. I remember kind of how I got introduced to CrossFit. It was just one Sunday a couple years ago, I'm sitting flipping through the channels, nothing on, and I'm on, ESPN 2 or something like that, and I see kind of like the female athletes. I think it was Catherine David Stouter and a couple others, and like they're doing these deadlifts and these clean and jerks and like all this kind of stuff. I'm like, what is this? And so after that, I just kind of started following it, and they have all those Netflix documentaries kind of highlighting each of the years and stuff, and just started kind of consuming it. I really think for someone who enjoys fitness and working out, like if you don't know what CrossFit is, if you haven't checked it out, like it's something you gotta take a look at.
Hmm. Yeah, it's definitely, I've been training at like a high level for, oh man, probably 15 years. And I wish I would have gotten started in something like this a long time ago. And I've trained under some really, really great coaches too. Um, but I haven't come across anything like this. This is this is definitely the fittest I've ever been. The um, relative to my body size right now is a lot bigger when I played football, but
Mhm.
for the most part, the strongest I've ever been, the healthiest I've ever been, the happiest I've ever been. And it works. It really does work. And there are some when people see the CrossFit Games, they get maybe sometimes a little overly inspired by that, and they try to maybe replicate what they see some of these athletes doing, and that's where it can become problematic. And
Mhm.
I don't think the average person needs to be training 2-3 times a day. I don't think the average person needs to be going all out with everything they have every single day of the week. And the average person needs a handful of rest days, and um, so it's it's kind of I like we were talking about with the injuries and stuff, and I don't you don't see really that many injuries, but you do see kind of like an exhaustion in
Yeah.
people because they're so excited about training and going hard, and you get this very euphoric feeling from that training. But if you don't have the foundation with like your nutrition and your recovery, then it can catch up to you rather quickly, and put you in a high level state of exhaustion, and that can be hard to get yourself out of. So um, yeah, that's that's probably the only thing that we're ever really up against as gym owners is um, just trying to get people to slow down a little bit, and like I keep saying, be a little bit more intentional with how you're moving, and and don't compare yourself. So really the comparison aspect is what gets people in trouble when you start
Mhm.
flipping through Instagram and seeing what this person's doing or this person's doing, and or this program that this person's doing, and thinking that, well, that's what I should be doing. And
Right.
well, you started training a year ago and they've been training for 20 years.
Mhm.
So that's the only kind of tough thing that we're sometimes up against. And social media has made it so accessible for people to uh, see what everyone else is doing, and that comparison thing has really been the most problematic part of being maybe a gym owner, is getting people to kind of stay in their lane
Mhm.
and do what is relative to their needs, and not Katrin's needs. So.
Right. Now, kind of something that you said that I wanted to touch on a little bit more was, you get these people who are just going balls to the walls as soon as they get there and kind of start burning themselves out. For someone like you said, who's been doing this for over a decade, what is your motivation, or what kind of drives you every morning when you get up to keep training and keep getting better?
Well, it's kind of changed quite a bit. I mean, ever since I saw my wife birth a child, that's kind of been a big motivator for me, and just seeing this little baby girl, and being responsible for her. That's kind of been like my new my new motivation. But in and still to this day, but in years prior, it's been just doing my best to kind of to glorify God and to, you know, just live fully every single day, and use the gifts that I've been blessed with. And you know, kind of like a 1-to-1 too, for sure. I definitely have some genetic potential, thanks to my parents. And but at the same time, there's been a lot of work put in to uh, attain my abilities. And it makes sense for me to do the best I can with those, and inspire people with what I'm doing. And so it's you know, it's a number of things. And you know, part of it too is just is passion. Like I'm passionate about what I do. And I, to some degree, I don't really need motivation,
Mm-hmm.
because I love what I'm doing. um so you know, even before I had a relationship with God, or a wife, or a child, or saw the, you know, the miracle of birth, like it it not much was different. I was still just living my passion and
Mm-hmm.
doing what I love to do. And but there's definitely some added fuel, if you will, for especially on the tough days, when, you know, when it's maybe you don't want to train, or you're tired, or you're, you know, you maybe you compare yourself to other people and you don't think you're good enough or something like that. And you can be reminded as to why you're doing this. And you know, the selfish reasons of just doing it because you're passionate about it, um you know, will can come in ebbs and flows. And but my wife is always there, God's always there, this child's always there. And those are definitely some great, I don't want to say supplemental ways of motivating myself, but they definitely help. And you know, it all of it, you know, it all comes together. And you know, so the passion and the relationships are definitely very motivating.
Yeah, and speaking of those relationships, I definitely wanted to talk about kind of all the stuff you do as far as working with, you know, special needs individuals and stuff. How did you get started with that? Because that's really cool.
Yeah, it's not a a great story. I wish I had this, like, you know, this passion, and it was just on my heart to do this, like this, the right thing, and to serve our community. But it was a business decision initially. I just kind of brought my coaching staff together, and I asked the question of what would happen if someone who weighed 500 pounds came into our gym. Would we be able to properly serve them? What if someone came into our gym, didn't have a leg? Would we be able to properly serve them? What if someone came in and they had vision impairment, or had Down syndrome? Would we be able to serve them? And the answer was no, we wouldn't. We were only trained and able to um, help people who were generally well. Um, and if we had one of those people come in, it would we'd be like, oh, even with what we know with scaling and such, like there's there's a whole, you know, there's a lot more depth to what scaling really is, when you're working with someone who um, doesn't have a fully functioning body and
Hmm.
mind. Um, so that's where it all kind of started. And then I just started recruiting people and offering them free memberships. We got someone who was overweight. We got someone who was in a wheelchair. We got someone who is missing an appendage. We got someone who had Down syndrome. And we just started kind of developing our systems so that when people with special needs of all kinds came into our facilities, we could confidently tell them that we can help them. So that's kind of where it started. And then young man named James Foster kind of just like stole our hearts and just completely changed our lives. And we thought to ourselves, with the transformation that we had experienced working with him, that if it was this powerful for us and changed us that much, that it could work with anybody else. And so we initially just started doing these fundraisers and these charity events to raise money for Special Olympics. And then after a couple years of doing that, we decided that we should just start our own non-for-profit and use the funds that we were raising to directly help our community. We kind of, maybe a little selfish. I'm not sure. We wanted to see what the money was doing, and we wanted to see it helping people. We were just writing checks for $100,000 and giving it to Special Olympics, and never really feeling the effect of that money in our community. So
Right.
That's where we kind of pivoted and started our own thing. But it's been a rough year, as you can imagine. We haven't been able to really serve much of the special need community. And we haven't really been able to put on as many events as we used to. We normally put on 15, 20, 30 events in a year, and we've done 2 this year.
Okay.
So we've ran into a little setback with that, but we're still passionate about it and trying to find ways that we can still do our work.
And now you're not for profit. What's the name of that if anyone watching this wants to get involved and kind of help donate?
Yeah, it's the Dancer Love Foundation. You can find that on Instagram. It's our last name, DANCER, Love, LOVE, and Foundation. So Dancer Love Foundation. We got an Instagram page and website linked in that bio, and kind of explains what we do and how people can participate. Unfortunately, with in regards to participation, and participation can look like a lot of things. It can look like just a financial support. That's a very simple way that someone could participate and help us out. But hopefully, when things start to clear up and we're able to have in-person events again, there's information on there if people are interested in hosting one of our events. We call them a row raiser. It's just a marathon row with teams of 10, and usually we try to have each team have a special needs athlete on their team. And rowing something that kind of everybody can do, even if you're not into fitness. And it's the real intention. Well, the reason behind it is to raise money first and foremost, but a really close second to that is the interaction with the special needs athletes. We again, like I said, Jen and I and our staff were so transformed by our interactions with James that we thought if more people got to interact with people like him, then their hearts would change as well. And I had this vision of all these row raisers taking place all across the globe at once, and I thought it could something similar to like just imagine if everybody today on Earth prayed at the same time, or if we all meditated at the same time, or if we all just set an intention to smile and be happy for an hour. What type of change that would have for humanity. And that was kind of the really big picture with it. Again, besides getting basically Special Olympics was in our town, and I would imagine in a lot of other towns too, was very underfinanced. So they were cutting programs, and there wasn't a lot of recreational stuff for these men and women to do. So I was just highly motivated by that, and finding ways that we could support them financially and to make sure that they had access to um, to have fun and
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, I'll leave the links to everything at the bottom once I put this on YouTube so people can check out and donate and everything. Couple things before we get going here. Um, Artist to artist, what I've been doing with kind of the people I've had on the podcast, especially since you're taking the time out of your day. I'm gonna go ahead and send you a piece of fan art for your gym.
Mm, thank you
So
very much.
just yeah, just let me know kind of what you want, whether you want it to be you or your family, something like that. I'll do that for you. And then the last thing, I just want to play a little game here. It's called Florida Man. All right. Now there are some crazy people in Florida, really crazy. I'm going to read you 3 news headlines here about Florida Man, and 2 of them are true. One of them is false. So you just got to guess which one. All right.
All right.
Okay. So the first one, Florida Man clings to semi truck speeding down highway. All right. Second one is naked Florida man attacks pastry shop, vandalizes property. And the last one is drunk Florida man drives lawnmower on highway.
Um, my guess is going to be, um, I think the semi truck, just because I would imagine if someone was clinging to a semi truck, that death would be imminent, and that would probably be included in the headline. So I'm gonna guess that the clinger is the false Florida man.
Oh, well, the false one is actually Florida man attacks pastry shop. There was a Florida man who was clinging to a semi truck. I don't think it was actually going that fast, because I think the guy, once he realized the dude was on his semi, started slowing down. But someone actually got it on video. So
Oh, good for him. I'm glad he's okay.
yeah, he didn't die. Sam, thanks so much. Like I said, good luck with your gym, with the competition in 2021, and thanks so much for taking time out of your day to speak with me, man.
Of course, absolute pleasure, man.
Hey, thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day. Okay.
You too.
Thanks. Bye. Hey guys, that was my interview with Sam freaking Dancer. Super cool guy. Gives a lot back to the community, really invests in his gym and wellness. If you'd like to support his not-for-profit that is doing things in the local community to help with special needs athletes, I'm going to have the link below in this YouTube video. Please go ahead and check that out. Thanks so much. Thanks for watching this Anywhere podcast. Go ahead and feel free to give us a like or a follow on Instagram at Anywhere Athletes. And of course, subscribe to the channel below. Thanks so much. Bye.